I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ralph.
There's a flag out there waving.
All right, so, everybody can sit. Doesn't look like we have any visiting missionaries or any guests today, except for our guests, so we'll wait for that introduction. Announcements, April 18th, Carrie, we're still on for the awards?
Yes,
You want to do
and we've got over 20 scholarship applications.
that? Yes, last week we had one.
Yeah, last week we had one, so they all waited for the deadline.
I was texting kids
I
right
know.
now. Amazing.
And we got worried, so we had extended the deadline till today. So today at 5 o'clock is the official deadline. It needs to be in my hands, so.
And I want to thank you for that. Ilana Weingard, our president of our local road Interact Club, texted me furiously, I think late Thursday or Friday night. I got this thing and I want it. Can you extend it to me? I'll get it this weekend. So anyway, I sent it to Carrie
Yeah.
and she graciously extended that deadline. So thank you very much
It's
for
April
that.
18th. It's a Tuesday night, yeah?
And then we received
The
this.
official tax date, last day to file your taxes is that day.
We'll do it before you
So
come.
we can tell all those extensions.
Mhm.
So, we received this little, note here, it says, greetings, our daughter, Leonie Erickson, is one of the SVMS, Scotts Valley Middle School, students recognized as an outstanding student. So I guess we picked some from them?
Well, the schools pick the middle school and high school kids for that part, and then we pick
Okay.
the scholarship winners.
Okay. Enclosed is a fun fact about her great-grandfather, my grandfather, Don Amsbach. Trying to forward the link proved to be impossible, but fun reading. He was an outstanding man and citizen and would be very proud to know that his great-grandchild was recognized by the Rotary Club of Scotts Valley. Many thanks, Tracy Erickson. And why does that matter? Because he passed away recently in February 2016, and he was a long-time dedicated Niles Rotarian. That's so nice. So, he was 91 years old when he passed away and had been a member of the Niles Rotary Club since 1961. Don was club president, from 1969 to 1970, and he boasted of his 50 years of perfect attendance.
Wow.
So this is something really maybe that you should bring up.
Yeah, I'll take it with me and make sure we share that.
I know he did this too. Because I will forget. And then I have an award to get today. It is my distinct pleasure from Rotary International to recognize as a grand donor to the Rotary Foundation 2016-2017 our own Ron Seckel. Congratulations. Yeah, photo op. Here we go. It's the only time, hold on, let me take off my glasses. Oh, it's the only time I'm standing here.
Are we ready now?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm taller than somebody. Congratulations. Let's see. Later on this week, I was just chatting with the graphics artist over there. She's working on the trivia, little posters. So I'm going to forward those to you guys as a PDF so you can print them out. The way I'm having them designed this year is gonna have all the information on top, and then I'll have the little sign-up sheet on the bottom. I'm also having her put, my telephone number in there, that way if somebody just wants to pick up the phone, sign up a team, and give me a credit card, I can do that, because I can run it off my machines.
What's the date?
It'll be May 20th. Saturday, May 20th, it's a weekend before the 3-day holiday.
Can we get an output of that in like a JPEG or a PNG format? So I can share it on social media?
PDF doesn't
It
work?
doesn't, no, it looks really
Okay, I'll have
cloudy.
David give it to me.
Thank you.
And I think that's about it. Dick, would you like to introduce?
I
Except
got
my
an
major
announcement.
award.
Quick announcement.
Sure.
Rotary District Assembly on April 13th, if anybody wants to go. I'll be going. It's in Milpitas from 5 to 9.
There's some flyers.
And who should be going to this?
Anybody who wants some kind of training in, you know, how Rotary runs, and
Is that the same night as?
any board members or anybody who
What
wants to
night
go.
is it?
It's
No, it's the 13th.
13th,
Okay.
Thursday night. And usually the club pays for it. I think it's $49.
And the vice mayor is gonna speak.
Should be
Yeah.
the president-elect, the club officers, chairs, that kind of stuff.
All your people.
All your people,
Yeah.
your peeps.
And I guess the major phone call is we have food, what here, they grow fresh food, I gave them fried food. Consider it a treat.
It's a treat.
Okay, so today we have the good fortune to have Daron Comerchero, whose organization is called Food What, and it is a youth empowerment and food justice organization using food through sustainable agriculture and health as the vehicle for growing strong, healthy, and resilient teens. Food What partners with low-income and struggling youth to grow, cook, eat, and distribute healthy, sustainably raised food and address food justice issues in our community. You'll tell us what food justice is.
Well, you're asking.
Youth from across Santa Cruz County join the Food What crew through spring internships, summer jobs, fall project management positions, and leading peer-to-peer education in high schools and big community events on the farm. They create a safe space where youth engage in leadership development, personal growth, and job training. Food What inspires personal transformation by supporting teens in finding their voices and developing lasting confidence in themselves. So, Daron, you're on.
All right. Can you hear me okay if I don't use the mic?
Sure.
Yeah? My voice loud enough? Okay. So, first of all, thanks for having me. This is my first time here. Food What has been here once before. So, I'm just curious, has anyone heard of Food What before? Okay, so I'll start mostly at the beginning. So the first thing is, how do you say our name? So if you could practice it with me, I appreciate it. It's not Food What, it's Food What. You say that?
Food what?
Perfect. All right. Now, first I'll start with who we serve, and then I brought a little bit of slides to show you. And then if you have any questions at the end, I'll leave a bit of time. So I have about 20, 25 minutes?
Yeah.
Is that about right? Okay. So we work with high school students in Santa Cruz County, and we work specifically with high school students who are struggling in their life, and that could be personal struggle, that could be academic struggle, but our program is specifically set up to serve youth who are not getting into all the other programs and opportunities. We're really looking for the most underserved students in the county. So when we first started Food What, and we work exclusively with high school students, when we first went into high schools, the teachers would say, "Oh, Carrie's our best student and she eats tons of chard. She should go to Food What." And we said, "No, we got to talk to Dick. He only eats fried food. He never comes to school. He's on probation," right? So really, was that your history? Sorry, I'm not supposed
You
to
got
expose
it.
people in my presentation. So really what we're looking for, who are the students who might be homeless, having trouble with substance abuse, not showing up to school? We really see ourselves as a partner with the schools. The schools are working with them academically, and we're giving them what we call a safe space. And I'll just unpack that for a minute. If you think about places that you've been in your life, maybe it's your office, maybe it's your home, maybe it's on the street, places where you feel like you could be the full expression of yourself without any limitations. Those are the spaces that we create for these teens on our 2 farm sites. So we have a farm site in Santa Cruz and we have a farm site in Watsonville. And basically we're working mostly with Watsonville, Santa Cruz, and some San Lorenzo Valley students. Does that make sense? All right, let's go to some slides. Actually, I'll start with a video so you get a chance to hear from a few of the students. It's only 2 minutes long. Oop. Wrong line. Working?
Hi, would you like a vegan only taco?
Before I started Food What, it was a life of just fast foods.
I didn't really care about my health at all.
Bit by bit, I found myself getting worse and worse. I got heavier and sadder.
Home life was pretty hard.
We never were the wealthiest family.
There was times when our refrigerator was empty.
While we're farming or harvesting, it gives me the time to really think to myself. At home, I don't really have that.
Hey stranger, stranger down the line. When I go to college, I want to study agriculture. Tell you no lie.
We bought whole produce that we had grown on the farm. Like the first week, there was a beet in there. I did not know what to do with the beet. The first two I ate raw. It tasted like sweet dirt. That's just.
I knew actually there was gonna be food, so I got excited.
There's no burden greater in
I'm just proud of myself now. Yeah. I don't know where I'd be without him. My boy? Yeah. And now it's like I actually know what like broccoli tastes like.
All right. Thanks for watching that. So, maybe I'll share a little bit of how does a young person get involved with Food What, and then I have a bunch of slides, but actually there are a few young people in the video that I could just tell a story about. So, we go into the schools, we go into high schools, mostly we work with alternative ed in the valley here and in Santa Cruz, and then with alternative ed and the main high schools in Watsonville. And we're looking for youth who they have to get free or reduced lunch, so we kind of have an economic bracket that we're looking for, and then additionally they're struggling in some way that their teachers or they might identify on their application. So they apply in March. This year we had the most applications we've ever had. We had 255 applications for 65 spots. So that says two things to me. Number one, it says we're running a good program, and that's great. The second thing it says, which is probably good for the Rotary to know, and I share this with politicians a lot, is that there's just not enough meaningful youth programming for teens in this county. If there's that big of a demand for just this one program, that means there's room for a lot more programs like Food What to exist in this county to serve youth. That we're doing a great job with who we're serving, but the need is really great. So they start and they do a spring internship. So we've got 5 groups of about 13, and they come to one of the farm sites once a week, and we do a little bit of farming as job training. We cook and eat, that's what they all love the best. And we do a workshop. And a lot of what we're doing is we're trying to offer them the skills that they don't necessarily get either at school or at home that they need to succeed. So at lunch today I was hearing a conversation about public speaking. So we do a public speaking workshop, we do a communication workshop, we do a financial literacy workshop, and I lead a lot of the workshops, and I think that particular one is probably the driest in a way, and it always gets great reviews from the youth because they really care about understanding finances. They want to understand what is debt. Should I just sign up for those credit cards? Or I hear all this stuff about credit cards. Years ago, we actually worked with Bay Federal and with the Santa Cruz Community Credit Union, and they helped us create this workshop, and it's a pretty good workshop. We also do workshops on health and nutrition. The 3 biggest outcomes that a young person will experience at Food What is they'll probably have pretty radical diet change. So what do you think teens are eating when they show up at Food What? Name a food.
French fries.
French fries, what else? Yeah? Tell me the number one thing they're coming. It comes in a little bag.
Chips.
Fritos.
Yeah.
Chip.
Hot Cheetos. Has anybody seen these things?
Yeah.
Has anybody eaten them?
No.
No. Okay, well that's why you're still alive. So they look neon. They're almost like a neon orange. When they're done, their hands look, like little monsters. But hot Cheetos, soda, all these things. And when we leave, so Maria, who is a young lady who said, if I go to, and then she stopped herself, and she said, when I go to. So that was public speaking at our benefit. She was speaking in front of 300 supporters, partners, and guests. So Maria, she started at Food What, and the story she told that we edited out is that when she came from Mexico to the US, her dad, as part of a way to help let her feel comfortable in the United States, was to take her out to fast food a lot and say, okay, we're in America, this is what American teenagers do. So she started getting heavier, she started to get a little depressed, and she realized she needed to make a change. She heard about Food What, she came to Food What, she did our spring internship. We do a summer job training program, which is all about learning the baseline job skills so you could get a job anywhere. In fact, I just heard that one of our alumni, Eli, is working. He started or he hasn't started here?
No, he started.
He started.
About a week and a half ago.
And do you have any reflections on how he's doing?
He's doing a great job. Quiet, he comes in, he shows up. That's
That's the big
90%. But
Yeah.
he's a really good kid.
Yeah.
And he lives here in Scotts Valley, actually.
Yeah. So he was commuting down to the farm. He did the spring internship, he did the summer job training program, and then he did a fall job with us. And you're right, he's very quiet, but once he starts talking, there's a lot there.
Okay.
And one of the main things we talk about, just what you said, showing up. Because it doesn't matter how great you'll do in a job, if you can't show up, and if you don't communicate if you're going to be late, right? Those are the two things that we probably spend 90% of our energy on in the summer job training program. But then our youth leave Food What, and they get jobs in the community, and they could start a career trajectory in a job and professional world that they didn't previously see that they could succeed in. So number one, diet change. So Maria, going back to Maria, she started Food What, she was eating all this fast food with her family, right? It was a family thing. And then she came to Food What, and she started to eat vegetables. We're not a brainwashing group. We're not like you come here and we just kind of tell you vegetables are good and what you eat are bad. That doesn't work. It doesn't work to shame people into saying this is not good and this is good. All Food What is really is an endless buffet of opportunities. That's probably the best way to say it. And it's a good food metaphor. So what we do is we grow food, we harvest it, we cook and we eat it together. Last week we made tacos. This week we're making veggie stir fry. So we're making healthy food, but it's also food that youth know. We're not coming out of the blue and making these, I don't even know what we can make, but just the crazy food that you see sometimes in San Francisco that you don't know, do you touch it, do you look at it, do you eat it? We don't do that. What we do is we work with food that they know, and we integrate veggies, and we give them a lot of opportunities to touch the earth and touch a vegetable and ask about it and try it, spit it out if you don't like it, compost it. And what we see is over the course of time in Food What, it radically changes their diets. So Maria, at this point, she's actually gone way to the edge of now she's a vegan. And we don't advocate for any particular orientation, and certainly vegan is as far as you could go, but she's never been healthier. She's in AP classes in her senior year she's at PV High, and I'm actually going to see her this afternoon. We hired her on as junior staff for next year, and I asked her, because I knew she applied to a ton of colleges, and that was a really big moment for her to stand up there and say, when I go to college. So she applied to almost every UC. I can't even name them all. And I asked her, which have you gotten into, assuming it's probably about now. I have a 2-year-old, so I'm not totally on the cycle, but I assume it's now. She got into UC Irvine, UC Santa Barbara, UCSC, UC Davis. I think those are the ones she's heard from so far. Yeah, she's still waiting to hear from Stanford. That was the other one she applied to, which was phenomenal. So I asked her, of all these UCs, what are you going to go to? And she's probably going to choose, not definite, UC Davis, because they have a really strong ag program. And I think about when I first met her, she didn't exactly know what she wanted to do with her life. She had kind of a low self-esteem. She definitely wasn't feeling good, both physically or emotionally in her body. And through the course of Food What being part of her world, not the whole piece, but a big part of her world, she had a safe place. She changed her diet. She was in a really supportive community of other youth that are like, yeah, you could do college. You could go to any school you want. And now she's going to go probably to one of the best ag professional training opportunities you could have in this state or this side of the country, right? So that's an example. Who else was in that video? Shin, the young man who said, oh, I'm getting sadder and all that, really suffers from terrible depression. And there were a few moments during his time with us at Food What where, right when he started, where he came in really sad, and it took him a little while, and there was a moment where he really didn't want to live anymore, right? And so he got hospitalized for his own protection, right? There's a number associated with it if you're on suicide watch. And it was interesting. I talked to him about it, and he called me and two of the other staff while he was in the hospital. And the guy that he said, give me that hug, his friend Ali. So Ali's from here, from San Lorenzo, and Shin's from Watsonville, right? These are two guys on the opposite ends of the world in this county. Think about culture and space and who interacts with who in this county and how, right? And those two became such close friends that Ali became, in a healthy way, a crutch for him. So Shin got out of the hospital, he continued with Food What for 2 years, and now he's doing great. He's graduating from Watsonville High, talking about going to Cabrillo, much more stable, very aware of how he needs to regulate his medicine and what food supports him. But most importantly, he made a best friend that he could call anytime he's suffering, right? And so I think about right here, and I'll take the test before I leave, but this one down here, will it build goodwill and better friendships? That's a key component of Food What too, is that in creating a safe space, these youth are supporting each other. So it's not just the hierarchy of adult and young person, but it's really the safe community that they're building with each other. So number one is health outcomes. Number two is that job training that they get. And then the third one is just feeling powerful, feeling strong in your own skin. So I'm going to show some slides. That's Manny and Angela. They're from Watsonville. That's on our Watsonville site. This is just a few weeks ago after the rains, getting in, skimming cover crop. This is from a few years ago. This is Natural Bridges High School in Santa Cruz on our North County farm, planting peppers. This is at our Watsonville site. This is just a few weeks ago. There were some goats born on the Watsonville site. As cool as vegetables are, which they're not, goats will trump, like any living thing. We'll be in the middle of a great workshop and a cat comes by and you just have to spend time with the cat. But baby goats, forget about it. So that's Ali from up here. Chopping, looks like kale, maybe chard. Cooking. So this is Marcus eating. So on the first day of Food What, we don't start with the dark leafy greens. We start with pumpkin muffins and strawberry smoothies. So you can see we work our way in. So clearly Marcus was enjoying the muffins. This was last summer. Part of the summer job, we bring in professional chefs. So the chef isn't here. That's Jorge, Kiki, who is from up here. So this is great, actually. I didn't intend to do this, but Jorge is from Santa Cruz High. Kiki was from Ponderosa High School, which is an alternative ed school right up here. And Manny, who is at PV Wrestling, or PV High School, and he's a wrestler. So we're having some sort of baked chicken, cornbread, and the best part was, I mean, you can't tell, but there's an herb whipped butter. And it just blew the kids' minds that butter could be something more than butter, right? So there are these little moments that they don't seem big when I stand up here and I say, oh, so they had herb whipped butter, who cares? But if you think about all the millions of points and all the, like that constellation of thoughts or ideas that got you to where you are, that got me to where I am, somewhere herb whipped butter is part of that. Maybe not for you, but for these kids. So we have these guest chefs come and they introduce what's it like to be a professional chef, and you know the kids have a chance to ask them about that career path. We're farming, so we are farmers, but we also have professional farmers that talk to the youth. So there's a lot of pipeline to career conversations if the youth want to take advantage of it. We make our own pizzas from scratch. We grow the wheat. We can our own tomato sauce the previous year. All the veggies we grew, so everything on that plate, except for the cheese, which we brought from probably Trader Joe's, was something that these two young ladies made themselves. And then we have an outdoor cob oven, and on the last day of the spring program, we make pizzas. Nice. So once again, pizzas. It's not something that kids won't eat, Will they eat it with veggies? Well, not week 1, but by week 11 in the spring, absolutely. You can see, they're pretty piled on. These are the tacos we made last week. Part of the trick of eating healthy food is healthy food has to taste good, right? And our healthy food tastes delicious. We do workshops. On the last day of the spring program, we do Farm Olympics. So this is the 3-legged race. Then they have to come back on their hands doing the wheelbarrow race. So this young lady here on the left, this is Josie. She's from Watsonville. She was on the mic saying that she doesn't have a lot of time to think, and Food What was her place to think. So a little bit of background on her. It's just her and her mom, and she's got a few younger siblings, so she's the oldest sibling. Excuse me. A lot of what we see with the youth we serve is that they are actually playing the role of another parent in the house, particularly the young women, right? So Josie is getting her sisters up in the morning, she's giving them breakfast, making sure they're dressed, getting them to school because her mom's a field worker. So she's up really early and she's coming home really late. And as we've developed our South County program, we're working with more youth of farm worker families, and we're seeing this. So one day, when we were all sitting around, I asked Josie, why do you keep coming back each day? And that's what she shared, that this is the one place where she gets, whether we're weeding, or we're cooking, or we're eating, she just gets time to be with herself, and to think about what does she care about in the world, or what's her struggle, and not just put all of her energy and time and attention on her sisters or on her mom. So the biggest news about her is at the end of last year, in September, she started at a school in Hayward. I can't remember the name, but it's one of the colleges in Hayward, and she moved away. What's that?
Is it Chabot?
Can't recall.
Cal State East Bay.
I think so. Yeah.
Used to be Cal State Hayward.
Yeah. So she's there now. She's away from her family, and she's on the phone with her mom and her sister, but she's doing something for herself. And I really believe that going to Food What gave her the strength to be like, my family's gonna be okay. And they're gonna do good, and me getting ahead in the world is part of them doing good too. So a few more slides. I think I'm almost out of time. This is one of our spring groups. Last day, everybody gets a t-shirt. Some of our junior staff. We do a lot of games. As part of kids being kids, this is a game called Blob Tag, where somebody gets tagged and you link arms. We spend a lot of time in the beginning of the day in the summer just playing games so that these kids have an opportunity to just feel what it's like to be free and be a kid for a minute. And then we get back to work and focus on all the job training components. Icebreaker. This is the icebreaker we lead before the financial literacy conversation. And I'll tell you why. You probably already figured it out. How do you think that feels?
I can't tell what's happening.
So they're all interlocked. Everybody's holding somebody else's arms, and they're really tight. Uncomfortable. So we do this as the icebreaker, and the idea is that without letting go, you have to untangle, right? And we do it one time where they can succeed, and one time where they won't. And then when we get into the icebreaker, when we talk about debt, we liken debt to that feeling. And all of a sudden, we're not just talking verbally, because the students we're working with, they learn in a very different way than just auditorily. So we talk about, what did it feel when Jorge was holding your hand and Sade was holding his hand and Cam was holding your hand? It's like, that sucked. It's so uncomfortable. It's like, that's what debt feels like. And then we have the beginning of a great conversation. Right? Natalie, and this is probably how am I doing, Dick? How much
Good, you're okay.
Okay, you let me know when I have a few minutes left. So, this is a really interesting story. I never expected this. Natalie, this photo is from 2 years ago. She was a sophomore. She's graduating from Costa Noa High School this year. And Food What was her first job in the summer. Most of the youth we work with, Food What is their first job. Some of the farm worker kids, they've worked in the fields before, and so this is their first job in this type of profession. So, one day we were out on the farm, and Natalie turns to me and she's like, this is after lunch, she's like, I'm feeling terrible. So I ask her, well, what's wrong? She's like, well, I really need to get to the end of the day. I'm like, why do you need to get to the end of the day so bad? She's like, well, because I have to pee so bad, but I know I have to hold it until the end of the day when we're done with work. So I asked her, I'm like, tell me about that. What makes you think you need to hold it basically between lunch and the end of the day, which is a few hours? She's like, well, I thought that, you can only use the bathroom before work, at lunch, or after work, right? She just didn't know. She never had a job. So somewhere she got that in her head, whether it was TV, or maybe she heard somebody joking about it, but she took it literally. So we had a conversation about, no, actually, on our job, we do it this way. If you were to work here at Bruno's, you probably have a 15-minute break here and another break there. So we had a great conversation. So it always amazes me what young people, particularly who we're serving, what they don't know. And how just a simple job like food, we're harvesting cucumbers, It gives us the opportunity to talk about all these things in a safe way. Because she may not feel as comfortable if she got a job at Cinelux or wherever she might work to ask those questions. And on the other side of the coin, her bladder was exploding. Like, she needed help. This is Uriel, harvesting cherry tomatoes. On the left, this is our programs manager. Her name is Irene. And on the right, Joshe. Steph with the beets. Fernie harvesting carrots. So this is a photo of the produce that we grow. And just the visual of it, if you think about, we're cooking and eating with this every day, that vibrancy it just kind of, it gets to you after a while. Like, okay, I'll try it. Because we never force anybody to try to eat anything. I think that speaks for itself. We try to do a little bit, it's confusing, huh? So that's
Two people.
one youth doing a back bend over another person leaning forward. So one of the things we do in the summer program is we try to do a little bit of body work, and we try different things. We try yoga or meditation, so it's an opportunity both to be physically in their body, but also to practice with their minds. One of our board members, Cesario, who owns My Mom's Mole in Watsonville, so he's one of the guest chefs. He comes, cooks this amazing mole lunch with everybody, and then we eat well. Prepping food, and if you look at this is another great photo. This one is put in here intentionally. If you think about a typical school lunchroom, and if you remember maybe even back when you were in the school lunchroom, there's a lot of segregation in lunchrooms, right? Like white kids sit with white kids, Latino kids sit with Latino kids, skaters sit with skaters. Whatever your group is, there tends to be this division, right? And one of the things that Food What does really effective is it builds these bridges across any division you could think of. So these four kids, the kid closest to me on the left, his name is Tristan. He's half white, half Mexican, and he grew up in New Zealand. So that's a story to begin with. So he has an accent, comes in. The guy behind him, Ali, he grew up here with his mom, kind of moving from place to place up here in Ben Lomond. Kid in the back right, Ty, grew up with his mom in Santa Cruz. And the kid in the front right, Mikey. So we got a white kid, we got a black kid, we got a Native American kid, and we have a half white, half Mexican kid, all sitting together and doing something that's building community, and none of those divisions exist in this moment, right? And that's a really powerful piece of Food What is we're really, especially across the county, and I almost feel like this is a third piece. There's like Mountain, Santa Cruz, and South County. So if you talk to young people, huge divisions in perception. But when people come to Food What, you're just part of the crew. And that's really effective. Some more of the dinners. We go into commercial kitchens and do some work so they get some of the professional training. This is one of the farm stands. We run some low-income farm stands. So one of the things we do with the produce, we eat it ourselves. Every young person in the summer program gets to bring home a share of produce to their families. So they get to build that bridge between their diet change and their families. So actually, Dick, you asked me, what's a food justice issue? So if you just separate those words, it's a justice issue around food. So one would be a lack of access to food, or a lack of affordable fresh, healthy food, right? It's cheaper to go to, you all know this, it's cheaper to go to McDonald's and get a $1 menu than to get the equivalent calories, or the appropriate amount of calories and nutrition through a rainbow diet, right? So one of the things we do is the kids are growing the food, they always bring it home once a week to their families. And that's free, that's part of, and I forgot one really key thing. A lot of programs like ours say, oh, we'll offer young people this program for free because they're low-income youth, they can't afford it. And I think that's great. I think that's a good step. The staff and I, from the very first year, we said we want to go further. We want to pay the youth to be here so that we're really valuing their economic worth and we're modeling that from day one. And there's an exchange there. It's not just you show up, you get paid. It's if you show up and you work hard and you fulfill the obligations, it's exactly what you'll be paying Eli to do, right? So we're really trying to mimic the real world. So just for an example, this year, our budget's probably around $500,000, and I would say close to $65,000 to $75,000 will be dollars that go directly into youth pocket. And that's so key, not only to model their economic worth, but also because a lot of them are helping their parents pay rent, sometimes they're buying their own food, even things like cell phones. Most of these kids are paying for their own cell phones, which today it's just the standard to be able to communicate in a certain way, right? So this is a market we're doing in town. Group shot. We also go into schools in the summers. So the funny thing about school gardens, I think school gardens are amazing. They have one fatal flaw. When is the peak time of production? When are there no kids in school? Summer. What a mess. So years ago, we got asked by the school districts if Food What, they kind of heard, oh, the Food What youth, they seem to know what they're doing. We're like, they're pro. They know what they're doing. We'll write a grant, and we'll get funding, and we'll come into the schools, and we will basically renovate school gardens for free for the schools in the summer, so that this school is in Watsonville, this is Amesti. So here's the before, here's the after, and then after this, we built 14 redwood beds, and filled it with soil, added compost, and installed an irrigation system. Now, there's no way the school could afford that, but as a nonprofit, we could work with local businesses or write a grant to a foundation. We have a lot of fluidity to do that, right? So we brought in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. There's 10 of us in there. We worked for probably 4 or 5 hours, cleared this entire space, which clearly wasn't in use for way more than just that year. Cleared it, put in the beds, installed the drip irrigation. We did all that either in July or August, which means September, all of a sudden that school has this amazing resource for their kids and their teachers, right? That's worth gold for those teachers, to have an outdoor space to do math, to do history, to do science, to do any subject they want to teach, right? And for us, a lot of our youth, they'll go back to schools. We might do this program, we might go to 8 schools in the summer. Eventually we might hit their middle school, because mostly middle school or elementaries. So a few of the kids are like, oh, I went here and we never had a garden, that would have been so cool. And then sometimes in the summer, the little kids come out for summer school and they see the big kids who are really cool, right? I'm not cool. They see the teens and they're like, oh, they're so cool. Good, they're opening their school. Great. So last few slides. Food, flowers, we do a flower business. Eggplant, that's a good looking eggplant, I'm not gonna lie. Potatoes, last summer, every Friday morning, we were harvesting between 3,000 and 5,000 potatoes in our South County site. And I'll just say one thing about that. Bless you. The great opportunity, we have really low math scores in our county. And math in the United States is a really big problem, and whatever our politics are moving ahead, our kids need to be able to do math. I think we can all agree on that. And potatoes are great for math, especially when you do 2,000 or 5,000 pounds of them. So they would harvest them and we put them in the box truck, and first we'd do the cube. How much high by how much deep by how much wide. Then we talk about how much would a 50-pound crate of potatoes, how much would we get for that? And we times that by the number of crates, and on and on. And by the end, we're like, oh, we just harvested $10,000 of potatoes. And all of a sudden, kids are like, wow, I like this job. So, last few slides. Strawberries, can't go wrong. Pumpkins, we do big events. And we have an alumni network. So these are some of our alums who come back once a year. So I mean, this guy in the middle, when he was 16, he's 20, I want to say he's 22 now, and he's installing solar panels, living on his own, making $40 an hour with healthcare. Great story. Maybe I'll end there. Do you have
Yeah.
time for questions, or am I?
I don't know, people have
Does anybody have any
questions?
questions?
Great program.
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
I have a Chico bag for you.
Oh, great.
Carry all those with you. So do you sell those, like potatoes and stuff like that? Do you sell all that?
We do, yeah. Mostly the youth, like we cook with it, the youth bring it home, and then there's some of the markets that we do.
Because that's a lot of potatoes.
It's a lot of potatoes.
I know, because we go through like 600 or 700 pounds a week.
600 or 700 pounds?
A week we go through.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So a lot of French fries.
Wow.
Will you
Because I eat
have
a
a
lot.
public speaking workshop here in Scotts Valley?
Do we have one, or would we have one?
Do you or will you?
We haven't, but we could. Yeah, we could imagine doing that.
I would love to volunteer if you do have it.
Okay.
And the Toastmaster.
Ralph.
Raphael.
Okay, got it.
And we're gonna have our drawing. Can you pick that ticket for us?
Oh, yeah. What are we drawing for?
Bag of potatoes.
All right.
Last three numbers.
We've got 8, 7, 6.
Oh, close.
Somebody after me. Is it you?
No, I made so many.
Is there any of us Tony?
No.
Or,
Or Carrie.
Or Carrie? Well, let's have it carry over to
What
next
number
week.
was it?
Next week will be 10.
876.
Oh, I got 877.
I have 875.
What was
That's what I said.
What was your number?
Take a potato. Okay, so we're gonna have $10.
All right, next
Thank
week
you,
we'll have 10.
everybody.
All right.